welcome to the latest episode of Beauties with Fresh Lettuce. I am your co-host, Rachel.
And I'm Dahlia.
And this episode, we're going to be talking about commitment to the commitment. If you're not doing so already, please follow us across all of our social media platforms at YDFL Podcast. You can also listen to us on
all kinds of stuff like Spotify. You can ask Alexa. That's always my favorite thing. You can also watch us on YouTube, and we are currently trying to boost the subscribers. So if you're not currently on YouTube, go ahead and check us out. We're also, in a new studio. Plus, check out the fits, as I like to say, and the shenanigans as we talk with our hands and our face
and our hair and our lashes
and everything.
All right, so let's get into it. So this episode is inspired partly by a piece of content that we talked about in season 1, really.
Yeah, for sure, a long time ago. Commitment to the commitment.
Yes, told a little story about my grandfather. So I'll lead with that, and then we can kind of dive in deeper. So one of the things is that once my grandmother passed away, they had been married 60-something years, and one of the things that he said that he realized after she was gone was that the ring, you know how it like never ends or begins, there's no beginning, there's no end, whatever. Yeah. He realized that the ring signifies a commitment to the commitment, and his point was,
it's everlasting.
Because love comes and goes. He goes, it seems like your generation, they're looking for like their true love or like all the soulmate stuff and all that and everything. And he said, but the truth is, it's about the respect and it's about the commitment to the commitment, because the love comes and goes. And he gave me so many examples of like how he's fallen in and out of love over 60-something years with my grandmother.
Yeah.
I mean, overarching.
Okay, so
love
I have a question for you, and I think that the message is really beautiful, but here's my next question to you, because you may have shared this or not. Did your grandfather ever cheat on your grandma?
Yes.
Okay, so that...
And according to him, every man does it at least once.
Okay, got it.
Unfortunately.
So the commitment to the commitment goes back to her too, because guess what? She committed to him, and we always say this, oftentimes women do not leave a man after he cheats one time, after he cheats 2 times.
It's
usually
what he continues to do.
Yes, and oftentimes they'll say, I only did it one time, but I only really got caught one time.
Yeah.
So really, really realistically speaking, it could be...
His perspective is, when he was talking about commitment to the commitment, he was saying what they both did.
Yeah.
He wasn't just saying for his commitment.
Right, for sure.
He's saying that both of them were committed
and she
to
committed
it.
to it too, because guess what?
Both
she stayed. Because I think otherwise it would just be like, oh, my grandpa and my grandma were married, they got divorced, which is your typical story. And once you
grandma and grandpa got divorced.
You know what I mean? That's very common now.
Now it is.
Now it's so common, right? It's like grandma and grandpa got divorced. It's like very common. But the commitment to the commitment was, I'm not saying that girls or ladies or women that you need to put up with someone cheating on you, okay?
Right.
But what I'm saying is, obviously she understood the assignment in her own right too, meaning she stayed there. And then he understood that, oh my gosh, she committed to me and continued to have the love go and come back, because guess what? He obviously, if you're stepping out of line, that means at one point in time that love kind of faded, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh my gosh, this woman really loves me.
And you have to remember that men can cheat on you and actually love you. Right. And so with women, we associate monogamy with love, and that's not how men operate. That's just not even how they're wired at all.
Right.
And so it's not about being faithful or not being faithful or anything.
Have you heard, Rachel?
It's about like the commitment to the commitment is about really understanding that when you're walking down the aisle, you're making a promise to a higher power. Most people get married in church or chapel or whatever with a minister, and they might say, hey, you know what, this is a promise I'm making to God to honor and cherish and whatever this person. It's not like a promise to the person, it's a promise to, like, let's just say God, that you're going to do this with this person. And so for him, his takeaway, you're talking about an old man that really invested the 60 years like my grandmother did till death do she part, and stuff like that. He's saying this generation is looking for all of this romanticism, all of this friendship, all of these like great happy times. He said it's part of it. Right. It's part of it, but it's not the whole picture. What keeps a marriage together is actual commitment.
Commitment, right?
Yes.
But, so someone might out there, and because I love to challenge people, obviously, but I would probably, me as a female, would question his commitment. Because if he's cheating on me, then he's not committed, right? Because I want to believe that I'm just committed as he is. Now, I have heard when women say something like this, I had an emotional affair. No, you did not have an emotional affair. That's called a friendship. And now, if you took it down to the nitty gritty,
it's usually backwards. They go, "No, he's just my friend," and it's an emotional affair.
Right. Well, still, but they say, "Oh, but it was just an emotional affair." Okay, if he's a friend or whatever. But like, what I'm trying to say is, at the end of the day, what crosses a line to become an affair is, like I always say, you could have friends, and what separates your friendships from being lovers is the sex.
Yeah.
So if you're saying it was an emotional affair, but you had sex with him, you had an affair. Like, let's stop with the BS.
If we're gonna veer off into adultery, make this into adultery, then absolutely we'll define adultery as it's
an affair. Absolutely. And so I think a lot of the time too, the commitment with what you're saying is, I think that we don't really realize, like, okay, I'm gonna marry this person, and oftentimes you don't realize, like, it's not just picking out the centerpieces. It's not just the ring and how you're going to propose and the fireworks.
The marriage starts after the wedding.
Like, literally after, because then I think you have to sit down with your partner and be like, so what damage did we do with this wedding?
Yeah.
And the vacation and this, and we understand that there's more to it than just a freaking wedding.
I think that, at the end of the day, if you're going to walk down the aisle, it's the understanding that you are going into a committed relationship is one narrative, right? That's like being faithful and stuff like that.
For sure.
But being committed to the commitment is a different thing, because what ends up happening with that is that you understand that you're going to do life with this person, and it's going to be rough. There's going to be beautiful things in there, but that person is not perfect. You are not perfect. You're going to put these two people together that were raised completely different.
Different religions, possibly.
Going through life, by the way, with different lenses on. We were just talking on camera about, like, I understand I'm viewing life through one set of lenses, and someone else next to me is viewing life through a totally different set of lenses.
And even if you had siblings, Rachel, like even brothers and sisters, you may be raised under the same same parents, and you might have a brother or a sister, and they could be a different religion. They could have a different, political views, different health views, you name it. And so that gives you an understanding that even though you make a commitment to decide to get married to this person, you understand that at the end of the day, you guys are going to have two different viewpoints and perspectives on all things, including raising children and spending money.
So you need
big things.
So being committed to the commitment is to understand that you're willing to roll up your sleeves and go to work. It's not about all roses and butterflies. This isn't
working for me no more.
This is about a partnership. Even when you have partnerships in business, you're saying we're partnering up to tackle the issues together.
Yes.
Like, we're partnering up to take on the heavy things together, so that you don't have to do the heavy lifting by yourself. And so if you're getting into a marriage and we're talking about commitment to the commitment, for at least where he was coming from, it is the person is committed to. I always envision a basket. And a basket has two handles. And it's saying, I'm going to hold this side of the handle, this side of the basket, you're going to hold that side. And at the end of the day, the one person can't be like, I'm not doing this. And P.S., cheating isn't even necessarily letting go of the handle, right? Here's the thing. You could sit there and go, well, if he cheated in the beginning, he wasn't committed. But women, by the way, and I'm just going to even speak for myself, we quit every day on the marriage. But as soon as we complain, as soon as we're making him feel like not worthy, there's so many things, and we're going to do another episode about this potentially. There's so many things energetically that we're doing as women that essentially make the guy feel like you're disappointed in him. Yeah. And essentially there's all these little complaining and all these different things. And that's also quitting inside the marriage. And so, again, we'll do separate episode about that.
I will say, in my opinion, there's a lack of commitment. If my partner cheats on me, there's a lack of commitment, respectfully. Like, because I think at the end of the day, if we're just hanging out, like I always say, there's two different people with two different perspectives. If we understand that we're going to have an open marriage, meaning we're going to be, I'm just saying, we're going to be swingers.
Delia just went all the way off to the right of
you know how I do it. if that is what we both decide to do, I'm not saying that I'm for that, by the way, but there are people that are okay with it.
Yeah.
If both parties are like, yes, we are going to be swingers. That's what we're going to do. Put the pineapple outside. By the way, something that I just found out about, that means that the pineapple, everybody on the hot pineapple.
I think what Delia wants is that, hey, if we're going to mess up, we're going to mess up together, and we're in this together.
We're in this together.
She's like, you're not doing that by yourself.
You can't just sit there and be like,
and cheat on me by yourself.
To the commitment and be like, I was committed to you, but I did a sorry. I went to the neighbor's house, asked for a cup of sugar. That's not going to fly with me.
And here's the thing. He
is not going to fly with me.
And I know you weren't with him when he was saying this, but like he wasn't coming from that place. Like,
no, I understand though.
In the beginning, the commitment was he had an affair in the first year. Yeah. And the thing is like there was a commitment to working it out, right? Obviously, there's a lack happening, or maybe he thought whatever in the marriage and it wasn't.
For sure.
And that's why I love the perspective, because he was saying to me when he did that, by the way, he's talked to me in depth about that. Yeah. Like when he did that, it really opened his eyes to like, okay, wait a minute, what is it that I needed from my husband, my wife, but also what did he expect marriage to be? And I think that that's really where the lesson is like so oftentimes a lot of things get really shaken up in the first couple years because what your idea of marriage was before you got married and what it actually is two different things.
But that depends, Rachel, I'll tell you why. Because I know someone specifically that has been married for 40 plus years. Never cheated on his wife. Best friend dies. Best friend says on his deathbed, just live, and this whole thing about being with one woman, like probably taking his last breath, like this bullshit, right? Yeah. So this guy goes on Match.com. Yeah. And guess what he does? Near damn 70-something-year-old man. So what I'm saying is, yes,
Delia's saying, we're going to talk about cheating, and you better not effing cheat without her. That's what it is.
If you're gonna cheat,
we're gonna do it together with pineapples. We're gonna do that shit together with pineapples. That's what she's gonna say.
I'm gonna say, let's see this through.
Yeah, she's gonna see it through.
You know what I mean? Because
she's all, that's commitment.
That's commitment to the commitment. It's like, how dare you be a selfish? You know, that's being selfish.
So I think that
like I want you at home, but I don't want you cheating on me. Like no,
I think that man, that's definitely selfish.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I think that's selfish.
But the thing about that though, you know, strictly committed, family man, family oriented, well-to-do, you name it. And then all of a sudden he gets a message from his dying partner friend, and his friend's like, you know what, just go out there and do it. And he's like, Match.com, let's do this. And now he has you know, his side chick. And he's like, near that, I don't even know, like, if, I mean, Cialis, I know guys have been like giving us messages, Cialis and Viagra.
He's not committed,
I get it. And so that commitment faltered.
No, yeah, he did.
So for me, I feel like, okay, cool. What exactly, like, I think the commitment to the commitment is also having communication. Like, honey, you know what?
But I think it's like
cutting it,
I think it's like
I need sugar.
I think it's like you said in the beginning. Women don't leave for what the guy does once or twice. So
No.
we're talking about a scenario where he did that.
One thing.
He did that one time, and then they leaned in.
And by the way,
they leaned in together.
Yeah.
To be able to go.
I'm
you know
not
what?
coming after you.
No, I know.
Though,
but it's like
you know I've been known
but I'm
for
saying
that.
I know for sure. No, I'm trying to say. I know for sure if he would have continued, she wouldn't have stayed. I know my grandmother. She's tough, man. She was feisty. Like, she was a diva. She was all the things. And so, like, I will tell you, I know for a fact if he would have continued, I would be telling a story of, like, my old-ass grandparents were divorced a long time ago. Like, that wasn't the case. And the reason why I wanted to do this episode is because I'm coming to you guys with a relationship that lasted over 60 years.
Right.
Because they were committed to the commitment. They weren't, oh, he has a kid over there and this and that and putting it, that's not what this is about. Commitment to the commitment is not anything about that. Yeah. It's about making mistakes and working them through.
But you do realize, so the commitment to the commitment, because that is the reason why most people get divorced. Like, besides the fact that, you know, people are like, we fell out of love, or, you know, whatever. But
here's the thing. That's what we did this episode. Right. Because you and I said so many people
fall out of love,
are giving up on their marriages because they don't feel that thing anymore. Right. So many people are quitting on their family dynamic everything because they don't feel fulfilled.
Well, because there's these new words words of like my twin flame and he's my soulmate. And I'm not saying
being married and then looking out there for the soulmate.
Now I'm not saying that they don't exist, but if you're married to somebody, then you have to understand like you committed to this man. And so my point to what you're saying too is I 100% agree with you, by the way. Yes. 110% with the message of what your grandfather said. However, I do have an issue. I'm going to take it back to like, you know, the trifling.
Don't cheat on Delia by yourself. Bring the pineapple.
I am not about pineapples.
I think, look, at the end of the day, listen,
yeah.
If a person, everybody makes mistakes. If a person makes a mistake and you feel the love and you feel like our marriage is worth it, our kids are worth it, then that's a commitment to the commitment. If a guy takes that healing process, counseling, all these things or whatever you do, and he's still over there with the secretary, he's not committed. Like, there's a huge difference, right? And so at the end of the day, the women...
He's committed to his pleasure.
Yeah, that's what he's committed to, his penis.
To his penis pleasure.
That's it. That's to himself.
Pee-pee.
Like, he wants you to be married,
yes,
but he doesn't want to act married.
He doesn't want to act
married.
That's
just what it is.
But a lot of the time, people are selfish, and they're going to be like, well, you can't do that. You know, they don't want that. Now, I'm not for, by the way, I'm not for pineapples or none of that. Like,
Pineapple Express?
No, I'm not. That's not my flow. I'm very territorial, and I think a lot of people are territorial.
We ain't sharing in these parts.
Yeah, I don't like to share in that regard, but I'm saying is like, I always say if we all know the rules of engagement and we know what's happening, it's on a contract, and this is how we're going to operate, then there is no foul play. When there's foul play, in my opinion, I always say this, is when someone doesn't tell you the freaking game plan. Like, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I didn't know those were the rules of engagement. Oh, snap. Well, in that case, well, shoot, Match.com, here we come. Like, be like that old man that was married 40 plus years, like, freaking message from the hell. Like, go get yourself your woman. Like,
you know, one of the things is like, you know, to honor and cherish and all these things. And unfortunately, you know, it's difficult as women, especially if you go, and even for men, you know, you go so many years into the marriage and you're like, oh my God, you left your freaking cruddy underwear on the floor. Like, there's like a lot of complaining and a lot of whining and all this kind of stuff. And so it's almost like a little bit of a silent quitting in the marriage.
For sure.
So women, we do it sometimes differently. Well, nowadays, women are just out here doing some other stuff too. Yeah, doing the most too. And so I think, you know, when it's in terms of the commitment, it's not just being physically there.
Right.
Like, you have to really be putting the needs of the other person, first, and also then, you know, an exchange. If you're both doing that, then you're both being met. Your needs are being met, you know? And I think that there's that too, because there's so many, I know women that I've met that they really believe that they're good because they're freaking still with the dude and cooking for him.
Or Rachel, because they have sex every day. Yeah. I mean, did it matter to you? Did it matter to me? Yeah, you have sex every day, 7 days a week.
It does.
Sometimes
as a woman, you
does that matter?
As a woman, you could give your husband all these things, but if you're a bitch and your energy is way off, you're quitting on your marriage too. And so you have to be very, very aware of that. Marriage is not just... It's not just be monogamous. It's not just have sex. There's also like the attitude around it, the tone with each other. And that's where the respect comes in. You know what I mean? So I think that at the end of the day, like when he really broke it down, he recognized all the areas that she fell short, all the other areas that he fell short. And it really was highlighted the moment she died. Literally, we had this conversation like 2 weeks after she passed away.
Yeah.
It was like it all came to light. And I was at a dinner. I was at a dinner with women in Laguna Beach in this gorgeous home, and I happened to mention that. And this lady she's a well-known psychologist and author, she goes, that's a whole book that you need to write. That one little thing he said with you, that's a best-selling book. And like I broke down, like I'm kind of trying to do here, of like some of the things that he took away and shared, and I was like, it was such an eye-opener to me.
Yeah.
Because this idea that like you're gonna go into something and everyone's gonna be perfect and it's always gonna be happy and it's always gonna feel like love is not the case. If you happen to be 1% of the population that got that from someone, count your blessings.
Beyond.
You're very, very, very blessed lucky. And fortunate, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I think along the way, it's just, you know, tapping your partner and checking in on them all the time, you know, every so often, like, hey, how are we doing? How is this going? It's kind of like understanding, like, I don't know, I don't want to make a reference to a relationship as financial, but every once in a while you have to check your finances. Like, can we afford to upgrade or downgrade or buy this or buy that? So relationships are I don't want to make a reference again about finances, but it's like you have to check
it's a business
checks and balances
it's
of
a
like
business too.
How is she doing? How is her emotions? How is he doing? How am I contributing? How am I fulfilling? How am I adding to her like love bank account and to my love bank account? Like how are we contributing to this relationship? And so oftentimes we think that our relationship is the only one that is suffering. Like you argue, you fight, you're fighting over like him not putting the freaking toilet seat down. Gosh. And then you start to think that you're the only one that fights over things like that. And then you see the stats and you're like, oh snap, everybody fights over this. But I think at the end of the day, it's just having an understanding like, hey, when you go to the restroom, do you mind? Or maybe you freaking put this toilet seat up because he needs to go to the restroom. I mean, it goes both ways, right? Or you just close it completely. Like after every use, you close it completely. That way there is an action that needs to take place, meaning somebody has to lift that toilet. That cover up, right? I'm just saying, like, you have to check in with your partner.
I think that, you know, at the end of the day, if you look at it like an even exchange, and you have to say, look, maybe we were talking earlier, we were thinking about doing a separate episode on this, and maybe we'll just talk about it here. I was talking about how energetically women and men do it too. They go in and they literally start running down, bitching about their entire thing. I woke up at 4 a.m, and then I had to go do this, and I walked the dog, and like, oh my God, and like now I'm making dinner, and like you don't understand. And there's this whole freaking bitch fest that takes place that energetically literally destroys joy and peace in your husband's life
and gratitude,
and vice versa. Okay, and what it is. It's your gratitude bank is depleted.
Right.
And so I think that if we, as couples, if we can lean in and say, I'm feeling like I need hugs, fine, I need to give him a hug. Okay? And I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and they go, you know, he's unaffectionate, and he's not considerate, and I say to them, I challenge you for a whole month, give him every single thing you're looking to get in return.
Right.
And what ends up happening, they go, well, I don't want to do that because, and then eventually if they do try it, they go, oh, he's like, oh, what was that for? The guy is just as thrown off as you are. Like, so at the end of the day, like we can sit there and claw and bitch and complain because technically speaking, we're empty. There's a lack there, right? But if you're committed to the commitment, you need to say, you know what? I really want affection. I'm not going to sit there and slam cabinets hoping he reads my mind that I want affection. I'm going to go sit on his lap and I'm going to go put my arm around him.
Yeah, but I think sometimes you notice that we do the opposite, right? Like, well, like you said, about slamming the cabinets, and like nobody in their right mind after you're slamming no damn cabinet is gonna come up to you like, come here, baby, let me just hug you and kiss you. Like everyone's gonna be like, this bitch is batshit crazy, and I'm gonna stay away from her. Kind of like with the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard, right? She only recorded what she wanted to record, and he's like slamming cabinets. No one in their right mind is going to go up to that man and be like, come here, let me give you a hug. So I think that there's timing too, right?
Yes.
But at the end of the day, a lot of the times what we are, you know, like screaming and spewing out what we seek and what we lack and
when
what
you
we
can
want.
just give that what you're looking to receive, because you teach people how to treat you, you teach people how to love you. They're not just going to read your mind and know that you need a hug in that moment, and don't sit there complaining and being silent treatment hoping that he reaches around and hugs you, because now you're going to be like, no, don't touch me, and at the end of the day it's like, well, you're doing this whole pouting session because you wanted it, but now you're mad. But now you're mad that it took all that just to get him to do it. So it's not, that's toxic, ladies, if you're doing that. So at the end of the day,
but don't we do this all the time? Oh my gosh, like the flower thing, right? It's like you never bring me flowers. All of a sudden he brings you flowers, and you're like, why did you bring me flowers?
You just brought them because I told you
about it. What did you do?
Oh yeah,
what did you do?
I had guilty gifts like all the time, and I'd be like, "This is," and I would do my best to keep my mouth shut because I was like trying to be in gratitude. But
you're like cutting it. You're like, "This mother effer, I'm gonna put it in water. We'll put the little vitamins in there. Good energy to that. Thank you, baby. You didn't have to, but what did you do?"
But if you are truly and utterly, if you're like, Rachel, but I am committed because I've been with him so long, and he's such a jerk and but he doesn't, he neglects me. Where are you leaning in? And by the way, it's not just the making dinner or vacuuming like we talked about. If you want the cuddles and the feels and the this and the whatever, you got to lean in and give it. You got to give that which you are lacking.
For sure.
Which is, it feels counterintuitive to do it.
Right. Yeah, no, it does. But at the end of the day, I think you have to check in with your partner every once in a while, have a sit down. Even if things are going phenomenal, like, what am I doing? What am I not doing? How can I contribute more? How can I contribute less? How can you contribute more? What can we do? Should we, you know, sometimes it's really healthy to just do a weekend getaway. Sometimes it's really healthy to plan a vacation maybe a year in advance, depending on your, you know, financial situation, to like have something to look forward to, because oftentimes we get so caught up in the mundane life of like, you know, pick up the kids, drop off the dry cleaning, go to the grocery store, cook, and in between that you forget about your partner, the commitment, the love, and then you feel like you're being neglected, disrespected, and at the end of the day, you're just a conversation away from trying to really understand each other and understand why you committed to the person and why you fell in love.
Yeah, and if you are one of those ladies that is like, oh my God, babe, well, I've been up at this and I had to do this, and oh my God, and and the carpool, you need to go, shh. You need to literally just go shh and say, you know what? It's on the verge of spewing out of me like word vomit, because what I really want from him is to look at me one day and go, babe, I'm so proud of the mom you are. I'm so proud of the wife you are. Like, and thank you so much and everything. And but guess what? Before you expect that, when was the last time you thanked him? When was the last time you hugged him for no reason? When was the last time you told him he looks so handsome? When was the last time you said, babe, I'm so proud of the life that you've provided, the home, or whatever. It could be small.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so just the moment you find yourself resenting that you haven't received it, ask yourself, when's the last time you gave it?
You need to give that.
And that is part of like my grandpa's messaging about the commitment to the commitment, because it goes both ways. And as soon as you hold back in resentment or in lack, both people are gonna like shrink down or use this toxic energy of slamming cabinets or whatever.
Of course. So, you know, if you think you desire something, give it first, and then that way it can be reciprocated, and then that way you're speaking the same language, and you're not on Match.com.
Because no Match, because you know, here let's just circle this out. What ends up happening, let's just be real freaking honest.
For sure.
We live in lack in our relationships. We're wanting him to read our minds, okay? Then we go to work, or the gas station, or the dinner, and the men are coming up, and they're like, oh, and they're doing and saying all the things that we want our husband to do.
Yeah.
And so easily now we're comparing this
man that does not see your day-to-day, you waking up with your messed up hair and your stank ass breath,
or the complaining or whatever.
He's just seeing you arriving into this world as this magical woman. He's like, you're so beautiful and smell so amazing.
And
you're like, why can't he say this to me?
Know, and P.S. your husband is experiencing the same thing in the world.
The same thing, exactly.
So instead of giving it to those people on the outside, being so polite, do not turn in and lean into the person that you're with.
Amen. That's all we got.
That's all we got for you.
Yeah. There's a lot of arguing and like, no.
Fix it. No.
Pineapples, guys, okay?
Pineapple. Grandma's pineapple.
What was your grandma's pineapple?
My grandma's pineapple. All right, guys. See you next week. And don't forget that you deserve fresh lettuce.
Cheers.